welcome to a new episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. I'm Sheldon McKinney, one of your hosts.
And I'm Ruth Ann Fink, another host.
And we are so happy to have a great Kentucky agriculture teacher to visit and glean wisdom from today. We have Miss Darilyn Hamilton. She has a rich history of time at FFA and was even actually an intern for the Kentucky FFA Foundation at one point. She has just been a wonderful advocate and classroom ag teacher in Spencer County. And so, Darilyn, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them about your path in agriculture education, how you found yourself in the classroom.
Okay, like they said, my name is Darilyn Hamilton. I'm actually a graduate of Spencer County High School. I graduated in 2014, and I did not want to be an ag teacher when I was in high school at all. But one of my ag teachers, Blaine Barrett, really pushed me to kind of decide and take that path. And I decided to do it. I actually enrolled at UK as animal science, but between him and Dr. Benson, they convinced me before my first day, my freshman year, to go ahead and switch to ag ed. So I attended the University of Kentucky. And while I was at UK, I actually worked at the early childhood laboratory and for my undergrad. And kind of like in the back of my head, I was like, I don't want to be an ag teacher. Like it was always just something there where I wouldn't accept the faith path of being pushed into the profession. So with that being said, I did graduate with my bachelor's in ag ed in 3 years. So technically I should have been in college my fourth year, and they offered me an assistantship at the early childhood laboratory at UK to come back and get my master's in early childhood education. So I took a year away from agriculture education, and I spent a year there as a preschool teaching assistant and a full-time grad student. But at the end of my year there, I got a call from Blaine, and there was going to be an opening at Spencer County High School. And he said, I really need you to come teach. And I did miss the classroom. I miss the agriculture industry. You can be a part of ag in many different facets, but there's just something about the ag education family, how close tight knit it is, the students, the classes you teach, FFA and everything. So I decided to apply for the job, lucked out. I did get the job, so I left early childhood education behind. It's still very near and dear to my heart. It's now just like a hobby to me, I guess. I get to go to the Dollar Tree and make sensory boxes for my 2-year-old now because it just brings me joy just getting to do that a little bit. But I've been here at Spencer County High School ever since. This is my 6th year teaching, and I love it.
Well, we're so glad that you made that decision, Darilyn, because you're such a wonderful teacher and you do such great things for your students. And you mentioned that you teach in your hometown and the program that you were a student and an FFA member in, which is really special. And your all's program is just so wonderful and has such a rich history. And we'd love for you to tell our listeners a bit about your community that you teach in, your program, and the students that you serve.
So I like to say Spencer County is the best of both worlds. We're only located 45 minutes outside of Louisville. So our county is really split, and it's changed over the past 15 to 20 years. So the students that enter into my classroom every day, I have some very traditional agriculture students whose roots are very deep in Spencer County. We have a big show stock community of kids who've raised up, and now they're having kids, and now their kids are showing. So a lot of traditional ag is still in Spencer County, but at the same time, Elk Creek area is the area that borders Jefferson County, and a lot of those students come from non-traditional agriculture backgrounds. Their parents are just wanting to get out of the city of of Louisville, and come into the Spencer County School District. And it's the best of both worlds, getting to have them in class together and just getting to see the different ideas that they can throw off of each other and teach each other, and kids who had never known anything about livestock wanting to attend the state fair and watch their friends show in the ring. It's really beautiful to kind of see, because I really feel like it's 50-50 now. So over the course of the years, I feel like it will probably be more non-traditional ag students than there is ag students, just because of the growth of the county that we have seen. But it's awesome. One thing about our community, though, is that we do have a lot of support. Just because for the long standing tradition, it's nothing that I have done. That goes back to former ag teachers and just the way they have made a path. Blaine Barrett and Daryl Matherly just did a tremendous job of getting FFA of what it was in the community. Uh, our greenhouse every year usually makes about $20,000, and that's just because people are wanting to come in and support our program. Just little things like that, they're always there for whatever we need, financial wise, or just the support of knowing that they're there to cheer our kids on.
Yeah. Spencer County is such a special community. It really is. And, you talked about having non-traditional students, and it is the norm now to not come from a farm. Only, less than 30% of our students come from a farm that are involved in ag education, but you help them find their path in agriculture. So many of them, and we need them. Agriculture needs everybody who will come and use their talents to help us feed the world. So, Darilyn, you are an inspiring teacher in the classroom. You do such a great job, and enough so that the Kentucky Association of Agriculture Educators, or what we call the KAAE, is the acronym for that. They selected you as the Kentucky Mentor Teacher of the Year. So tell us about your experience with mentorship and why agriculture education needs teachers, why those teachers need support.
I love mentorship. I think a lot of it goes back to stewardship, and a lot of people can be stewards of their time, different gifts in a different way. But one gift that I have found is mentorship, and I think that could look like on a lot of different levels. I've had numerous people that have fed into me, and I think mentorship doesn't have to be going to get coffee once a month. Mentorship can look like in a lot of different ways, and I know there's a lot of people that are in my phone book that I could text, and they're there for me, and they're able to feed into me. So for me, now going into my 6th year of teaching, I'm not closer to the start of my teaching career now. I'm getting a little bit more older. Mentorship has just been, I have seen and I have been through what the first few years of teaching can feel like. Especially in agriculture education, we take on several different other facets than just preparing curriculum for teaching it in the classroom. We have FFA, we have SAEs, proficiency applications, state degrees, Farm Bureau meetings, anything under that facet, and just being there for a younger teacher and getting to feed off of them not only their knowledge from their perspective that they got, but also just trying to share little tidbits that I have learned along the way from them. Last year, I was very fortunate that I have been able to serve as a mentor. Blaine, I've spoke of him a lot now on this podcast, but he decided to officially step away. He was here part-time, but he wanted to officially retire. So we had a position that came open, and it didn't get posted till late July. And the young lady that I applied for it was Miss Caitlin Eads, and she decided to take the position, but she was going to have to get emergency certified because technically in the fall she was supposed to student teach at Locust Trace with Mr. Bustle, but instead she was walking into the classroom as a first-year teacher. So just getting to walk through that process with her of getting emergency certified, not student teaching, and experiencing everything with the door shut and not somebody there to support you as a student teacher. I had a fantastic student teaching experience, and that was because of my mentor teacher, Mr. Daniel Mattingly, there walking me through everything. And when I had a mess up or a bad day, he was there to jump in and be like, okay, how can we do this? So just getting to support her from afar has been a new experience for me, and something that I think I'll probably cherish more than anyone else in the building or anything else. Just getting to support her. And one other cool thing about Caitlin and her position is that she wasn't in FFA or took an ag class in high school at all. She come from a traditional agriculture background, but she never took an ag class, so it was brand new to her.
Wow. So much. Well, I think that people may not know the expectation of agriculture teachers as anywhere. And what I'm trying to say by that is you may take some courses in college, like maybe a greenhouse class, maybe a shop class, maybe not. And then you get a job teaching all shop or all greenhouse or all animal science. And not no one is an expert in all of these things. So we can teach people how to be great teachers, but then we have to also help them find good resources and continue to grow, because agriculture teachers may be teaching 6 or 7 different courses a day, different topics. And so they have to be able to wear many hats and wear them well. And that's where mentorship really has it matters deeply.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
a lasting impact for sure. And it's one thing that I think Kentucky Ag Ed is really aware of and is constantly working towards. And how do we make this better? Specifically, we had a redo of our Kentucky Strategic Ag Ed strategic plan, and a really big focus of that was recruitment and retaining agriculture teachers. Darilyn and Sheldon, like we all know what that recruitment effort looks like, but oh my gosh, the retainment is so important too. So Darilyn, I think it would be great to hear from you of what has been some of the rewarding parts of your career that you and why you've chosen to stay in this career.
I think the most rewarding part is the students. Like I sit here now and I'm gonna tear up talking about them, but just getting to see them and how far they've come. They knew I was recording this podcast today and they were so excited. One of them wrote on a sticky note, "Thank you for being the best teacher. You'll do great."
No.
And it's signed right there where I can see it. So just building those strong relationships. Yesterday in class, we were able to watch the commissioner's podcast, and he even talked about like his best friend is his old ag teacher, and just knowing that those students just trust you with so much more because you put in those outside classroom times with them. So you're there for them in the moments when things are exciting. You're there for them in the moments when things are really hard. Um, Last year, we had a tragic event happen at our school, and a group of students wanted to stay in my classroom, and there was some fuss about it. But the pastor that was here looked at them and said, "Those students feel the most comfortable with Miss Hamilton in her room right now, and that's where they need to be." And that just kind of caught me off guard because just building those strong relationships with those kids, like content is so important. You're pairing them to be a leader in the agriculture industry, but at the end of the day, it's truly the relationships and getting to look back and see that, especially now. It's my 6th year teaching, so I've watched 2 classes go completely through high school, and now I'll be on getting to see more and more and just where they've gone and what all they've accomplished is really special.
Darilyn, I have to shout you out. If you don't follow Darilyn on Instagram or social media, you should, because she's always going to her students' basketball games or she's cheering them on. I mean, she really lives this out, and it's really special to get to see.
Yeah. It is mentorship. It's lifelong mentorship, and it's so moving. And your heart is so in it, Darilyn. It's so obvious. And those students are so lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you in the classroom. So, the Kentucky FFA Foundation, we raise funds to support students like yours and chapters like yours across the state. And we always just want to make sure that we give people the opportunity who are maybe donors, who maybe aren't ag teachers. But what do you want people to know about the Kentucky FFA Foundation and the impact that we have had on your students?
I've been able to see it from the very start of my program, not of Spencer County's program, but my years teaching. We were able to receive the Living to Serve grant through the Kentucky FFA Foundation. And with that Living to Serve grant, we were able to restart a community garden in memory of Andy Butler. He passed away several years ago, was the president of the Spencer County FFA chapter, and it was first established then. But where that was established at, they decided to build our new sporting complex. So our greenhouse, our blue building that contained our meat slab, everything like that got moved. So it got completely tore down. And that was a big thing, especially for the family, was where is this going to go? And through the Living to Serve grant, we were able to apply for it, and we were able to start a community garden. And those funds were able to help us build raised beds, get soil in, get our first crops in, and get everything taken care of with that. And not only is it in memory of Andy and his family gets to see, But through that grant, it offers supervised agriculture experience, SAEs, for my students. So this past summer, we had a community garden manager. She was amazing. If it wasn't for her, the garden would not be standing. And then some students who might not have as much time to put into the essay to their SAE, such as the students who do play athletics, but they're here every day of the week practicing for football that morning. They took over rotations of watering the garden and checking on it. So it's providing the SAE opportunities like that. I had a student who got the Washington Leadership Conference grant before, and she got to attend WLC. And her being able to attend WLC will be something that she remembers forever and she still talks about. SAE grants, being able to purchase livestock. Like I mentioned, we're a huge show stock community here, and those kids being able to purchase that. Not only my students, but I was able to benefit from the Kentucky FFA Foundation, from being a state officer and getting to travel along and meet with donors and industry visits. And I received SAE grants in high school that helped me purchase my first South Down U. Her name was Kardashian because I had purchased her with money that I won from a grant. And now we're still in the sheep business. So if it wasn't for that SAE grant, I might have not have gotten into the sheep business. But just the importance of the funds that go back to it and how they can really shape a student's life.
Yeah.
I love that. Those are such good real examples, and it never gets old hearing those stories. It really doesn't. But Darilyn, we do always ask our guests the same 3 questions as we kind of wrap up here. And I get the pleasure of asking our first one, which is a hard question, but it's, what is the best piece of leadership advice that you've ever been given?
So I kind of have 2, and they were not given to us directly, but they came out of sermons. One was from Scott Nickel and John Weiss. My husband and I, we attend at Southland Christian Church, and my husband, Matt Hamilton, always tells me, he got it out of the sermon, if you would not ask a person for their advice, you should not care about their opinion. And I think that is so true, especially when you're in a leadership role, because you try to surround yourself with the people who build your board up, who is going to build your board, who's going to lift you up. Sometimes you'll always get negative views incoming if it's either about your ag program or how you're running SAEs, totally different things, how you manage your classroom. But at the end of the day, he always reminds me, like, are they on your board? Would you go to them to ask them their opinion? And if you wouldn't, then it doesn't matter. It's about you and who's on your board and who you're trying to build and to be a better person. And that kind of my next quote kind of goes with that into leadership. And that was from John Weiss. He said in his sermon one time, and I had this in posters in my classroom, competency can get you in the room, but character keeps you there. And I think that goes back to relationships and mentorship. You can get into the room based upon your degrees or if you know agriculture, but truly at the end of the day, your character is going to show, and that's what's going to keep you there, by the respect and the relationships you can build with other people.
Oh my gosh, that's so good, Darilyn. I'm going to put it in a poster in my room. That's great. Yes, so true. I love that, especially for high school students. You know, we all care about what other people think, and social media makes us care in different ways that we're not, have it historically. But that's so true. If you wouldn't ask them for their opinion, their advice shouldn't matter. That's a great way to live. Okay, so the next question is, philanthropy is all about giving back, and people can give of their time, their talent, their treasure. Who's somebody who's really poured into you that you would like to shout out?
So I thought about this, and this is also funny because I've been able to sit through several interview preps, and I always tell my kids, don't ever say your parents, because it's a very generic answer. But truly, if I had to pick one person who has fed into me and is still there, it is my mom.
Yeah.
She gives up so much time to feed into us, and she always has. So my mom is who I'd shout out.
You have a very special mom, so we'll send her this episode when it drops to make sure she knows you're shouting her out. That's great.
And then our last question is switching up gears a little bit here. It's a little bit sillier of a question, but it's still good. What's something that you're loving right now that's helping you grow? It can be anything.
Something that I'm loving right now that is helping me grow. would probably be my morning routine. And I know that sounds a little silly, but the mornings when I can get up, I have one of those Hatch alarm clocks where it wakes me up with the light instead
Uh-huh.
of I don't have the noise set on. But one thing is funny is that this morning I was such into my dream cycle that I thought that somebody was blinding me with light in my dream. And it took me 20 minutes to wake up to realize it was actually my alarm clock getting me up for the day. Uh, Waking up to that light just brings just a new energy in me. And then I'm able to work out. And then after I work out, I sit down, I read my Bible, and I pray for the day. And just that time in the morning is helping me grow tremendously because it's just me. And then the rest of the day, I can feed into others. I'm really never by myself. I'm either with my students, or I'm with my daughter, or I'm with my husband, or my daughter and my husband at the same time. The only time I'm ever by myself is my 5 minute drive after I drop my daughter off in the morning and when I go get her in the afternoon. Because as soon as I get to school, I have kids and they're with me all day. They're even with me during my planning period. So just that time, just being able to reflect and grow myself physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah, that is great advice. And, Toni Myers tells on her podcast, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's great that you're doing that and taking that time. Well, Darilyn, this has been such a pleasure to get to talk to you and visit. You are a great example of a superstar ag teacher and mom and who's making it work, and your work, like, it just deeply matters. And we are so proud of you, and congratulations on your award. You deserve so much more than just an award. But thank you for your service to Kentucky FFA and to your students.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's it. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Growing Kentucky's Leaders. Growing Kentucky's Leaders is a podcast from the Kentucky FFA Foundation. The music has been performed by Bourbon County FFA member Joe Fritch. Production is provided by Isaiah Pruitt. Our artwork is by Julie Fritch Creative. Your hosts are Sheldon McKinney and Ruth Ann Fink, and you can find us on all social platforms at Kentucky FFA.